So patch 7.3.5 released one of the most anticipated collabs since Stormblood, which is the return of a Monster Hunter collab, where FF14 collabs with Monster Hunter Wilds and brings this scary looking Guardian Arkfeld as a trial boss, together with an Extreme. So I have done both fights and cleared both of them, so let's talk about this collab in comparison to the collab that Monster Hunter Wilds did. So I'm someone that loves Monster Hunter, but I'm no hardcore fan. For example, I haven't played Wilds yet, but I have seen multiple people play it, and with that I've seen the fight against Omega, both normal and savage variant. So if you're interested in my personal opinion on this collab, stick around. Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy XIV have collabed before, which brought Rathalos into the game as a trial, within normal and extreme, just like Arkveld. But believe it or not, even though it's not the first time that FF14 handles a Monster Hunter fight, both Rathalos and Arkfeld play very differently from one another, so let's compare them. Rathalos is unlocked in Stormblood as that was the expansion the collaboration started, and to this day you can still fight it. And against Rathalos, it plays exactly like a Monster Hunter fight would go. Rathalos doesn't care if you're a tank, so it will start flying all over the place, attacking everybody indiscriminately, making the players actively need to look at the boss at all times and read its body language. As in this fight, there's no cast bars that shows what attacks the boss is preparing next. So for most FF14 players, this fight catches them off guard. Tanks and DPS need to adjust and respect every single attack from Rathalos, as once you get hit, you actually get thrown around into the ground with a unique animation that stuns you for a very long time. And if you're really unlucky, you can get comboed by Rathalos, which can easily lead you to dying, just like in Monster Hunter. In this fight, you also have health potions, 10 to be exact, that you can use to fully heal yourself, but it's not really necessary, as if the healers are on top of the game and are doing a good job healing, you won't need these potions, but they become a massive factor for when the boss goes into the second phase, but we will get there. While fighting Rathalos, you need to build a meter to stagger Rathalos and bring it into the ground where it will take increased damage. Not only that, but you can also attack its tail and cut it off, which, by the way, once done, you can collect its reward at the end of the fight, so it's always good to attack the tail first. There's even a really cool attempt from FF14 to simulate a turf war between Rathalos and this big monster that charges in and stuns it, having the party needing to take care of the new monster that came in and have one random player jump into Rathalos' back to start stabbing it, just like Monster Hunter. Once the big monster is defeated, the second phase starts, where you use monster's body as a shield against a instant kill raid ride. Once the phase fully starts, everybody gets a debuff, not allowing you to get healed by any means other than potions. This is a part of the fight that everybody will be using potions all the time to keep themselves alive, as healers can no longer heal. This entire encounter plays out like a Monster Hunter fight, which is fantastic. It's even more amazing as the extreme of Rathalos is incredibly unique and puts 4 players instead of your usual 8. A part of 8 defeating Rathalos, a true Monster Hunter feeling. Sadly, you don't get any weapons from Rathalos, but you do get armor by training those skills that you get by carving Rathalos. And if you're extra lucky, you can have Rathalos as a mount, which is awesome. So all in all, a fantastic collab from Final Fantasy XIV and Monster Hunter. So you might be wondering, why can Rathalos and Arkveld be so different to one another? Well, time for me to explain that, but before we go, consider leaving a like and subscribing if you're enjoying yourself and want to support me. That would help me tremendously. And check my channel if you're interested in silly and fun ways to play the game, such as challenge runs. Arkveld released in patch 7.3.5 as a new trial of Dawntrail, where you need to beat the entire MSQ of Dawntrail to even try the fight, which already, as a requirement, is insane. You might think, well, Rathalos was the same, and that is true. You have to beat Stormblood to access Rathalos, but the difference is that you only had to go through the base game and 2 expansions to get there. It is quite the time commitment to experience the fight, but it is doable. But now FF14 has a base game and 5 new expansions that you have to play through to even get the chance at trying the Arkfeld fight, which is insane. That is easily 800 hours of gameplay just to get there. Even if you buy the story skip, you still need to play through Dawntrail, so it's not immediately accessible. But again, it's more forgivable because that's how Rathalos was. But it's still annoying that as a new player and a fan of Monster Hunter, the fastest way to experience the fight is by paying money to skip most of the game, which won't even have you prepared for the fight because it's nothing like Rathalos. Arkveld's fight was, how do I really put this? Quite disappointing, but not for the reason you think. Arkveld as a Final Fantasy XIV trial fight is fantastic. It's incredibly fun, fast-paced, and decently difficult in normal mode. Up there on my favorite trials when it comes to Dawn Trail. But that's the twist. It's a great FF14 fight, but it's not a good Monster Hunter fight, and let me explain. Arkveld is another 8-man party on normal mode, and you have access to potions, which in the first phase is not very useful, just like Rathalos, but the difference is immediate. This fight needs to be tanked like a normal FF14 trial, having the boss be positioned and aiming in a certain way to make mechanics easier and such. Arkveld isn't random with its attacks, everything is scripted, and once you learn the boss, there's not many attacks that you'll take damage from, while Rathalos will always put you on your toes, even on experienced players, because you never know what attack is gonna be next. Mechanically very strong FF14 boss, but it's already lacking the Monster Hunter identity, as it doesn't feel like a MH fight, but the worst offender comes next. On the second phase, Arkfeld applies a debuff to the entire party, which is a dot that deals very little damage, and honestly, it's not even noticeable because the food buff you start the fight with will overheal the dot, so healers don't even need to worry about it. And speaking of healers, you can heal normally in this fight. You aren't locked into using health potions. So once again, once you learn the boss, there's a very high chance that you won't take damage, and if you do take damage, healers can just do their job and heal you back to full, making potions just useless. You do not stun Arkveld, nor do you jump into its back. There's also no tail cutting, which means that once the boss is defeated, you can only carve its head, and that's it. Which isn't a bad thing, but a bit sad that we can't carve the tail. Though, this time around, every time you defeat Arkveld, you get a free weapon coffer that will give you a Arkveld weapon. Some of them are original to FF14, and others are straight out of Monster Hunter Wilds Arkveld rewards. So that is really cool, and they look great. Though the community was a bit disappointed that you don't get the Arkveld armor set for FF14 and only get the starter default armor from Wilds as an obtainable piece. Maybe in the back of your head you're thinking, okay, maybe the extreme version will be different like Rathalos. I'm sorry to break it to you, but still a 8-man party, and the health potions are still irrelevant in this fight, other than helping you get back to full HP once you die, helping healers with their mana economy. So overall, even though this is a fantastic fight, I absolutely love everything about it, this fight in comparison to Omega and Wilds is very disappointing, as this doesn't give a Monster Hunter vibe. With that said, let's talk about Monster Hunter Wilds Omega and see if they did a good job with that. So reminder, I didn't play Wilds as I'm too much of a broke bitch to get the game, but I watched others play it. So let's jump into the FF14 collab, where Omega becomes a monster that you can hunt, where we have to address the insane things before Omega even. The addition of Pictomancy magic being an item you can use, and the Dark Knight Greatsword having a unique moveset like the Blackest Night and Edge of Darkness, that is already a few extra points on the Wilds collab. But with that out of the way, Omega itself is incredible. I honestly didn't think they would design the fight like this, but they did. Omega is a proper MMORPG raid boss, with line AoEs, spread markers, ad phases, and even an intermission like in most FF14 raids, where you need to do a secondary objective so you can survive the ultimate attack of Omega. Omega is unforgiving. The attacks come out super fast. Everybody needs to handle with their own mechanics, especially when it comes to the rocket hands that start chasing people. Omega still behaves like a monster, as whenever you deal enough damage to it, it will retreat to another area to recover. But that also signals a phase transition. New mechanics like the beams and spread markers become more prominent. I do love the detail that when you do get a spread marker on you, you have a little FF14 marker above your head, indicating that a mechanic is gonna drop on top of you soon. It has its electrical shield like Omega in FF14 that will help you defend yourself from attacks. One of the funniest things in this entire collab is that Wilds is introducing a new generation of hunters to the nightmare of Loudboard and Starboard mechanic. The mechanic that to this day gets FF14 players killed consistently to this day, and seeing in Wilds is just glorious. So in general, this fight is incredibly faithful to how a FF14 raid boss works, and they made it work in the gameplay loop of Monster Hunter, making this collab one of the best collabs ever, honestly. Now that we compare both Rathalos, Arkveld, and Wilds Omega and talked how each and every one works, how good is this collab? Well, to nobody's surprise, it's incredibly subjective, as I heard both sides of some people being happy that Arkveld is a typical trial boss and not like Rathalos, but some others lamented that it's not unique like Rathalos. Where do I stand in this argument? Well, I'm on the side of people that are a bit disappointed with the whole event. Even though the fight is incredibly fun, both normal and extreme, it just doesn't feel like a Monster Hunter fight whatsoever. If you were to take away the name of Arkveld and say that it wasn't a Monster Hunter Wilds collab, I would believe you. as it just looks like every other trial in the game. In itself, it's not a bad thing, cause some people prefer this gameplay loop of FF14, a scripted fight where every role does their job, with healers healing and tanks tanking, nice and predictable, and giving everybody something to do, while Rathalos made tanking not really interesting and removed the entire kit of healers on its second phase. So I can see why people would enjoy the current Arkfeld fight a lot more, but I think it takes away from it being a unique event and collaboration with such a great franchise like Monster Hunter. What do you think? Are you contemplating trying FF14 just to try this event? Have you done this fight as a Monster Hunter fan and have opinions to share as well? Be sure to let me know in the comments. This video was possible by my supporters over on Twitch, so big thanks to Vardis, Ultrax Infinity, Zirin, Resolute Visit, and Subsebi for helping the channel out while I experiment with my content. But for now, I'll be seeing you on my next video.